Well, it's great to be here on the Positive Different podcast with Vicki Davey, who is our Director of Early Learning here at Highlands. And it's great to have a conversation around how we do early learning and the effect of early learning on kids for their future and how they make a positive difference, not only in this place here, but in their families and in life in general. So, Vic, how long have you been doing this for?
A long time. I go in the plus now, so it's 30 plus.
Oh, 30
years.
plus years.
I just figured everything is 30 plus.
Everything's 30 plus.
So for a very long time, but it's been a very rewarding time.
Yeah, that's great. And tell me about your passion for early learning, Vicki. You've got just such a unique passion to see kids developed and the importance of education in the early years.
Absolutely. Very passionate, have always been a huge advocate for the early years. And I guess I like to I just share a bit of information about that because I guess my view is when I hear myself talk about early years and how important it is, I just think everybody should see and understand how important it is because the first 5 years are just critical for human growth and development. The brain is growing at such a fast rate. It's the fastest rate and at any other stage in their life. So, which that in itself is just incredible. There's over 1 million neural connections happening every second. I know, which is
Incredible.
amazing.
Yeah.
It is. And 90% of like adult brain structure is actually formed by the time a child is 5 years of age. So having that understanding, and I guess that brain structure then sets up the foundation for their learning, their behavior, their health, just so much of who they are. So knowing that, it's a huge thing to be able to step into that place. And it just means that every interaction that we have with children, the experiences they have, especially in those early years, you're literally growing brains. Like it's just growing, helping them or forming, who they will become.
Yeah.
So
Our identity is formed in these early years as well.
very much so. So that's where my passion for early years is because we can just make such an impact and a difference in those early years to help shape and guide and see so that they can see themselves as a learner and just as a great person and who God has designed them to be.
Yeah, that's so good. I find it interesting, isn't it? Because we often talk and see people talk about childcare rather than education.
Yes.
And I know as Highlands, we joke about it, but it's actually critical to what we do here is the early education piece.
Absolutely.
And I hear people say, oh, well, I'll just send my kids to daycare or I'll send my kids to primary school in a different system. But how does that affect them in the years to come? What have you seen?
Yeah, definitely. As you know, the word childcare is taboo for myself, and I will correct people in that it is early education and care because childcare, daycare, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Care is something that should be a given. Care is something that should happen for a child, especially that they feel they have those safe, supportive relationships in those early years because like I said, the brain is firing so rapidly. Every interaction matters.
Yeah.
Care is great, but it's the education side of it. That's what's always excited myself. That combined with safe, supportive relationships makes a significant difference. So understanding childhood development, what is happening at each stage in that child's growth so that then you can come in with experiences, exposures to be able to help that brain and that child grow and develop. So childcare it just doesn't capture what the educators are doing on a daily basis. It's that education and care and having educators who understand that. And without a doubt, our educators are here because they're passionate about not just caring, but in educating. Partnering the two together.
So Highlands is a exceeding centre. We have exceeding rating from the government. What's that mean, and how did we go about getting that?
Yeah, for sure. So every early education and care service across Australia is rated has different rating levels that all are. There's an assessment and rating process where you have someone from the Department of Education or Early Education and Care come out and assess across 7 quality areas. So we have had the absolute pleasure of being rated exceeding since 2015.
Yeah.
So we moved to the long day care model in 2014 and then had our assessment and rating not long after that. So it is, and like I said, it is an honour, but it's a lot of intentional hard work too.
Yeah.
So I think it, coupled with, like I said before, having a right view of children, having educators who have that view, because they want to bring their best in everything they do, in everything daily. So all of the quality areas touch on educational program and practice, children's health and safety, relationships with children, partnerships with families. There's leadership, physical environment. I'm not sure if that's 7 or if I've missed one, but there's 7 areas and it is quite astringent and for good. I think it's really good these quality areas are there because quality is important.
Absolutely.
But it is made so much greater when you've actually got a team that desire to come to work. You know, they have that right view of children. And we have about 60 staff and they're just an incredible team.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy for us to lead because with getting the exceeding rating, especially for our service, we have quite a large service. And so you can't just have, for example, a standout one room or one quality area. It has to be every room, prioritising and having a consistency of level in all the requirements that are there. So
that's good.
we've been through assessment and rating again back in 21, I think it was, and maintained that exceeding level. So it's not something we take lightly. It's something we're always pushing and striving for. We want to it's not just for the assessment and rating. It's because children deserve it. The staff deserve it. We all deserve quality every day.
I think that's interesting is because it would help staff as well. So often we focus on the kids, which we rightly should, but having quality actually helps our staff.
Absolutely, definitely. It's and the way that, particularly when we move to long day care, the highest priority has always been how do we provide quality for staff?
Yeah.
And for the children.
Yeah.
They're just as important as each other. So we made, and I remember having the conversation with you many years ago about making those decisions for quality.
Yep.
For example, just the little things like there are regulated ratios, whereas my view is you should never have one educator on their own with children. So we operate, we'll always there's a minimum 2 educators at all times. And we've increased now, we have higher ratios than the regulated requirements because it matters. It makes such a difference in quality practices. And supports the educators in being able to do what they do and do it so well.
Safe for our kids and safe for our staff.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is so important to us because I know we got Best Christian Workplace a number of times. We enrolled in that program, which is run out of the States.
Yeah.
And we got a flourishing workplace, which is above the normal. Very few people get the flourishing workplace. So what are some of the keys in staff that make that place such a flourishing place?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, like I said, the view of the child. We have a Christian staff because we are a Christian early education service. And so because that's our philosophy, you need educators that actually understand that philosophy and then come with the view of seeing children how they should be seen. It's being present and intentional, seeing each of our staff as the unique person that God's made them to be. So trying to be the support that we can. We have an incredible assistant director, an incredible educational leader. We have our leadership team that get around and try and intentionally want to support and say, how can we serve you? What can we do to help you be the best that you can be? We've in a place where I love our campus. I really appreciate that they've got the resources that they need.
Yeah.
So we're well equipped on many levels. The fact that we're on this beautiful campus with so much resource that's available, where if you were a standalone service, you just wouldn't have as much access to those resources. So we feel very blessed and we don't take it for granted, what we've got.
Yeah, it's a great partnership across the campus, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So tell me, we take kids at 15 months.
Yep.
And if you're a parent at home now with a newborn, and you're heading towards that journey of going back to work, as many people have to do today, what would you say to those ones as they've got these little babies that are 6 months old and they desperately want to get into our centre? What things can they be doing to help that child?
Yeah, I mean, it's being intentional. I think there's often a lot of that mum guilt.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that, and it's particularly because a lot of parents do need to work, and so there can be that guilt. I don't want to be, sending my children somewhere. But I say it's not about whether you work or don't work as a mum, and I say this as a working mum of having raised 4 children. It's about being intentional and giving them that quality time. So it's you don't have to spend 24/7, there sewing in, but it's the time that you do have with your children that it's intentional quality time. So whether it's reading books, getting out in nature, having those park visits, lots of communication and conversation, because like I said, those neuro connections, a million every second, it's those conversations, those connection points make a significant difference. It's the time that you do have with them. It's intentional.
Great.
Just encouraging them. Obviously, up till 15 months, a child can comprehend so much more than what they're able to verbalize. So, but it's that communicating, as you go about your day, hey, we're doing this today. It's those constant conversations because they're picking up. Those brains are forming and they're taking all of that rich information in, and just, that touch, that lots of hugs, lots of just connection points with them.
It raises an interesting area in the digital age we live in.
Yes.
How do we help our parents and our kids navigate that age of, I see a little child seem to have the ability to use an iPad from 6 months old. How did that happen?
Yeah.
How do we navigate that area, the digital experience children have, and what's best practice in that?
I would say that not giving a child an iPad at least till they're 2 years of age, or just limiting. There's a time and a place for digital tools.
Yeah.
But particularly in those early years, really trying to minimize and reduce. Like there is that time, they call it the arsenic hour of 6 p.m. where it's, children are they're hungry or they're getting ready for bed. And, there's a time and a place where some parents feel guilty, being able to put an iPad so they can watch something to distract for a little time. But I'd say it's not what you do in the majority.
Yeah.
It is what you do in the majority. It's those little moments in the minority are okay.
Yeah.
But restricting and limiting as much digital as you can in those early years, for me, is a right decision, is a quality practice decision, because children need to get out and use their whole 5 senses. It is just such a limited stimuli. And, you see it all along. Children, they're ending up, I remember hearing the research a long time ago where they were saying that some children are even struggling knowing how to hold a pencil because their finger swiping, their fingers are not strengthening proportionately, and it actually can hinder being able to hold a pencil correctly. So children need to be out. They need to be running. They need to be jumping. They need to be using their body, and they're not going to do that in front of an iPad or a phone or whatever it is.
Because we were originally called Play Early Learning Centre.
Yes.
And the aspect of play is critical in children development. How does that get integrated into our program?
Yeah, play, I refer to play as a vehicle. Play is the vehicle that we use to help everything else happen. So where the learning, teaching, learning, experiences, inquiry, everything comes into play because it's a long play that children, that's how they learn. And I say as adults, we are more likely to take something in if we are interested in something.
Yeah.
And so we're inquiring, finding out what the children's interests are, and then putting provocations and experiences out that help them to be able to ask more questions, to inquire. Because if they're interested in it in the first place, then the educators can come alongside. And so it's to tell me what you think is happening there. They're bringing numeracy in, they're bringing literacy, they're bringing all of that key learning
Yeah.
in to that play scenario. So it's not just, often parents are often asked, what did you do today? And a child will say, I played. That's good. We want children playing.
Yeah.
But playing also means routines.
Yeah.
Play is just not free for all, do what you want, whatever you want. There's boundaries, there's routines that go with play. So play is, as Einstein said, play is the highest form of research.
Yeah.
And if it was good enough for Albert Einstein, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, that's good.
It is the vehicle we use to support growth and learning.
Yeah.
So
Because we lose wonder as adults, don't we? We seem to anyway.
we can do, and that's my heart, is that we can foster that, because I don't believe we should ever lose that sense of wonder. But like I said, it's that fire analogy of children, of, that fire to be lit. The best thing we can do as parents, as educators, is ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask children, help them to learn how to wonder.
Yeah.
So what do you think's happening there? Why do you think that's happening?
Yeah, that's good.
Rather than just saying, I think this is happening and that's why, because they're not learning to wonder or ask questions themselves.
I know as we see our kids come through the early learning centre and end up in our prep, some of the comments I hear from our prep teachers is that they come through and they're ready to learn, whereas kids that come through a different system, it takes them a long while to get established in their learning. What would be some of the keys we see in that area?
Yeah, I see, every child's rate of growth and development is unique for them.
Yeah.
You can't, whereas there are developmental milestones that go with each age, every child is uniquely them.
Yeah.
But I think what it is two parts to it, is particularly one, because of what I was saying before, the brain is firing and growing at such a fast rate. It's having educators who understand that, so that they're tracking each child's development. Where are they up to? Not just cognitively, academically, but physically, socially, emotionally, cognitively, and spiritually, because they're to see them as a whole child. And then when you're, I guess, tracking where every child is at, it's then knowing, well, how do I take them from this place and scaffold, bring those experiences in that help them grow to be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, they're all at different rates and growth, and it's wrong to put expectation on where one child is as opposed to another, and that the comparing game needs to stop. It's just, we want to see children for who they uniquely are and then help them grow to be the best that they can become.
Yeah.
So that understanding development and how we do that well, but also coupled with that is, we are a Christian early education, and it's our view of children.
Yeah.
And so it's having educators that have a view of children that is founded in that biblical worldview, that every child is purposed, is planned, is created for good. And so when you come with that child view, you're looking for the potential, and then how do you bring those gifts and talents out in that child? So when you're combining Christian early education view of children plus with good educational practice, it's a great success story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we've had parents come in and say, I want my child to go to prep this year or next year, and we've made a recommendation they stay in the early education centre for another year. I think parents always think their children are the best and ready.
Absolutely, yes.
And we always see the best in our kids. But tell me a little bit about that, how that works in our world and the results we've seen in that.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about readiness.
Yeah.
So it's, I think there was previously a lot of stigma about, well, if my child doesn't go straight through to prep, is there something wrong with them? And it's not that there's something wrong with them. You want a child to be ready to hit and enter the school system.
Yeah.
And prep in one school can look very different to another school. So if you're trying to make them prep ready, I take away that terminology, prep ready, because we will do what we can to help your child be the best that they can.
That's good.
And then when they are, because like I said, the prep that they go to can all be very different. So you can't actually make them prep ready, but we want to support that child be the best version of them, so that when they enter the school system, they see themselves as a learner.
Yeah, that's great.
And they feel confident about who they are.
So I know you've had experience in dyslexia with your own children. Tell me a little bit about that journey, and I know you've seen incredible success with your kids. Tell me a little bit about that journey and how people could actually step into that when they've got concerns about dyslexia or neurodivergent.
Yeah, for sure. Dyslexia is a beautiful way of seeing the world. It's just there are so many different learning styles, and so two of my children have dyslexia.
Yeah.
And I could identify quite young. And even though someone with dyslexia, they're all very different. So different ways of being present.
Yeah.
So I could identify very quickly with my firstborn.
Yeah.
And it was I just saw that his learning style was just in a little bit different way. And particularly when it comes to reading or spelling tests, it can be quite difficult when they're going in and they're getting 1 out of 20.
Yeah.
And yet they practiced and practiced and practiced so much. They knew it was in there, but I just went on a big research journey to say, help me understand this more.
Yeah.
Looking into learning styles. But first and foremost was helping each of my children understand who they were.
Yeah.
That God had made them to be exactly who they're meant to be. And yes, you're having some challenges here, but it's never pull back from it, jump into it. Always try, be your best. And building them to be, it's like, well, God has made you uniquely you, and you are capable to do this, and maybe you just need to learn in a slightly different way. So I just went on a big research pathway just to learn more about dyslexia, and just supported them along their way, got to learn their own unique learning styles.
Yeah.
They're very much multi-sensory learners. So I guess typical classroom with, where it used to be teacher at the front, communicating, because that was definitely not the way that they learned. So all of that auditory input going in, they just couldn't retain it. And so we looked at different ways that they learn, and then adjusted programs, etc., for that. And once you combine building up who they are and their identity, because I guess with teaching, I have been teaching for quite a while across primary school, early education, and I saw just that pattern of if a child's identity gets knocked, they see themselves no longer as a learner.
Right.
And it can just spiral down. And that wasn't the path that I wanted for my children. And so it was building them up in who they are, but then teaching them to understand more about themselves and their own learning style. And did a lot of research as well, got them to research and discover, well, Walt Disney, there are greats in Richard Branson who all had dyslexia.
Yeah.
It's just a unique way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
It was actually a beautiful gift because their ability to see in 3D perspective is just incredible. So I guess just, helping them understand themselves, having a very supportive school that we were able to adjust the program to be able to support them.
Yep.
It's fantastic. And they've just continued. They saw themselves as learners.
Yeah.
My eldest, who, if you looked at his report card in the early years, it wasn't the greatest. But I mean, to go on and be someone who did a double degree at university, he's written his own honours thesis. He just always saw himself as a learner.
Yeah.
He knew he had to work hard, but that's where that identity came in. Just
Yeah.
he saw himself as a learner, and then the success comes from there.
Which is incredible, isn't it? Because so often people get written off academically. Yet your boy gone through to written an honours thesis and excelled, whereas other people have said, well, that's not possible if you've got dyslexia.
Yeah, which is absolutely wrong.
Yes.
So it's getting in those early years, and there's a lot of things that you can pick up early now and getting those early interventions and early supports. But first and foremost is developing them as a learner.
Yeah, that's great.
That all things are possible if they put the effort in.
Yeah. I know Jackie Stewart has dyslexia, and he's World Championship Formula One driver, very successful business person. But he had to memorize everything. And they, in the early years, like I think he's 80 now, but he was stood up in the corner of saying he was a dunce.
Yeah.
And you just look at that and you see him as a person and what he's achieved on his own ability, really.
That's right. And it also, what I saw as well, is it put a great resilience into particularly those two, because they had to learn to dig deep and go, no, I am capable of this.
Yeah.
I can do this. And so they had to push and I guess have that resilience and that grit to be able to keep pushing through.
Yeah.
And that's what I've seen in their own life as well, is that they've got that grit and resilience to just keep pushing and going on to do great things.
Yeah, it's amazing. Very good. So your other boys got into sport.
Yes.
And how does that work from a dyslexic perspective? And
whereas my first, like I said before, just because a child has dyslexia, they're all very different.
Yeah.
And so whereas my first, the glass is always half full. And so his attitude was always, yes, there's an obstacle there, but I can get around it. And so whereas my third child, second one with dyslexia, he was probably more that deep thinker, and so, but very intuitive.
Right.
And so I had to support him in a very different way
Yeah.
than what I did with my first. But because of that, a lot of his success now, I believe, is because of that intuitive.
Yeah.
The way he plays, because he plays professional football in Europe, and the way he can read the game, the way he can navigate, there's a lot of intuitiveness there that he uses in the way he thinks and the way he sees things.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, it comes back to that confidence.
Yeah.
He sees himself as capable, as able, and that's what we had to support and protect, particularly because he's that deep thinker.
Yeah.
And, could have went down and spiraled, but it was always, no, this is who God has made you to be. So identity, confidence in seeing yourself as who God made you to be is everything.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So how do we develop that in the early years here?
In many ways. I love the early years because it's very much a program that focuses on whole child.
Yeah.
So it's we know in the early years they need lots of sensory input. Yeah. So it is giving them opportunity to explore, to investigate, to inquire, just affirming them, encouraging them, and just, you're a really great thinker. I love the way you thought about that. I love the way you saw that. Getting them to inquire rather than just giving everything to them. It's getting them to see themselves as a learner and teaching them and showing them how to ask those questions. So I remember hearing something years ago, and it said, "A child is not a vase to be filled, but rather it's a fire to be lit."
Yeah.
And I love that because it's the way that you see children. It's not just us as adults pouring into them.
Yeah.
It's helping them, igniting what's already in them. And a lot of that is by asking questions. So can you tell me, what happened when you did that? Just getting them to inquire and think, because they take those skills into their adult life.
Yeah.
Very much encouraging them.
That's great.
And not with "good job," that's wonderful, but it's, you are so confident. Love the way that you were so brave or so kind. So drawing out the behaviors that we see on a daily basis, and building them in that. And children want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Typically, I agree that they do. They do want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So it's coming alongside and the educators just working with them in a collab. Obviously, it's age appropriate too, depending on the age of the child.
I know we've got a lot of nature play and rocks they climb on, and people look at our rocks and say, "Oh, well, are they safe?" And tell us a little bit about that process and why we've gone that way.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely, yes, they will fall over and they may have a little bit more of a grazed knee, etc. But we want children to develop. And if we don't give children experiences, it will actually hinder their development. So if we make everything flat, that they, never learn to be able to pick their feet up properly, if they don't learn to use their body in space, it'll end up a child will become more fearful,
Yeah.
less and more restricted to be able to venture out and have a go and explore. So we provide opportunity for them to be able to go out, to explore, to inquire in nature, particularly with stone blocks.
Yeah.
So they love running around on that, but they've got to learn to navigate their body to pick their feet up at the right time. And because they're learning balance and coordination, they have to actually be using those skills in order to strengthen them. So it's not about wrapping children up in cotton wool.
Yeah.
We don't like it when they fall over and hurt themselves, but they need to have those experiences to be able to grow.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So, Vic, you've been on a bit of a cancer journey in your life.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that rather than me frame it for you. Tell me about that journey and how it was diagnosed and what the diagnosis was.
Sure. It was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it's something that's always there because you don't forget a journey like that. It forms and it shapes who you become. So it was 26, probably nearly 27 years ago.
Yep.
So my firstborn was 10 months old when I was first diagnosed, and it was with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it was stage 2A. By then, it was all in my from my diaphragm up, basically. So, and I remember going into the doctor and he told me that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma and I had no idea what that was. I went, okay, that's okay. We'll have some medicine and I'll be fine. But as soon as he said the word, it's cancer, it just broke me because of, I guess, what I'd assumed and what you'd heard in life. And so probably the way I'm wired is I just, after crying for 3 days straight, first, I couldn't get it out of my talk about it without crying.
Yeah.
After 3 days, I just pulled myself together and I want to understand this. What is cancer? And basically cried out to God and just said, show me who you are. If you are there, which I knew he was there, but it was just to that point where this is real now, because if this is cancer, this might mean, death. It could mean a whole heap of things. And I had a 10-month-old baby, wonderful husband, and I wasn't ready to die. So I just did a lot of research and trusted God on that journey just to show me just new ways of seeing things, ways of viewing, and really approaching. It was healing principles at spirit, soul, and body level. So when it came to understanding how cancer works, and then like really going into from a body perspective, God's placed our immune system in us, which is just so powerful. And so getting adequate air, nutrition, sunlight, exercise, there's a whole, it was actually the word answers. So each letter of the word answers.
Right.
Air, nutrition, sunlight, water, exercise, rest, and stress management.
Yep.
They were the healing principles at a body level that he showed.
Yeah.
And then there was other healing keys there. So I just clung into God, just said, show me who you are. And he just revealed these healing principles, which I did go through 7 months of chemo initially.
Yep.
Which probably I ended up on death's door, basically. I'd lost, I ended up reacting to the chemo and had a motor neuropathy. So I lost my balance, coordination, and was just in a pretty bad way. But after that 7 months, it did actually go. And then 3 months later, it came back very aggressive. And so then I was booked in to have a stem cell transplant, radiation, etc. But with everything that God had been showing me and guiding me through to that point, I chose not to go ahead and really just trust God with what he was showing and step out into the healing principles that he was showing.
Yeah.
And he honestly did a miracle. It did go. I was told that I would probably never have more children again. And then 10 months after the last chemo and everything had happened, I fell pregnant with our second child. And then I was breastfeeding her at 9 months and then fell pregnant with the next child. And then same again, breastfeeding that child 9 months later. And then I fell pregnant with the next one. So it was 3 children in 3 years straight after. But it was just, I'm just forever thankful and grateful to who my Heavenly Father is.
So tell me a little bit about that identity journey in understanding from getting cancer to really working through your identity in Christ.
It was just a game changer.
Yeah.
It was life-changing because, like I said, you're a young person. I had this beautiful 10-month-old baby, and in my mind is, I'm not ready to die. I don't want to. I just show me who you are. And he just got me to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. And I just read those out of the Bible. I just read them over and over again. And I just fell in love with Jesus.
Yeah.
I was raised a Christian. It was a very interesting upbringing, but I was raised to know that God was there. Yeah. But the level that he took me through in this whole cancer journey was just next level. Like I said, I just fell in love with Jesus, and in the whole journey, it just showed me who I was as his daughter. And that frames everything, because unless you know whose you are, like everything comes out of that. The way you view life, the way that, because we're human, we all make mistakes and errors. But I just knew that I was his daughter. Yeah. I was his princess, and he formed and he fashioned me. He knew me before I was born, and he created me for good works. Yep. And when you have that just deep sit down in your spirit, it's life-changing, because everything, like I said, that you do stems out of that. And I always say that whole cancer journey was the best or the worst, best thing that ever could have happened. Yeah. However you want to frame that, because it's something that I never, definitely wouldn't have chosen to go through. Yeah. And you don't want anyone else to go through it. But what I learned through it has just framed my whole life. Yeah. Yeah. Identity is everything, because unless you know whose you are first and foremost, I think there's always that uncertainty or struggle that's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. So how did you give your life to Jesus? When did that happen, and in your faith journey?
I always It's an interesting one. I don't actually remember the first time because I guess my father used to sit beside. So initially, mum and dad, I think I was about 3 when dad saw the change in another person
Right.
who was pretty wild from what I hear. And dad had said, well, if going to church and reading the Bible can do that to him, I need to find out more.
Wow.
So he read and determined that he was going to take his children to church. So I remember going to church from a young age.
Yep.
And dad sitting beside my bed at night and just always talking to me about God. So I feel like I've always known that I was, who God is, had a fear, like a healthy fear, a respect for who God is. And it's just always been there. But it wasn't until I went through, like I said, it was a very interesting upbringing where I just had, my parents separated divorced when I was 15 at a key time in my life. And my beautiful mother, struggled with some mental issues. And so mental health issues. And so it was an interesting journey, but as part of that and some of the things that happened, I remember just being at a bit of a break point one day and just saying, if you are there, show me who you are. And I just felt his presence in the room. And when you experience who he is,
Yep.
no one can move that from you. It just sets the foundation for just knowing that he's always been there.
Yeah.
So not an actual one time,
Yeah.
but just a constant presence of knowing
Yeah.
that he's
Because it's not religion, is it?
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
It's encounter with God himself as Father.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's great. A lot of great insights today, Vicki. Thank you. It's just incredible what's going on in early learning. And if we could encourage people to get and understand that early learning is so, so important, and where you choose to send your children, how your children develop at the early years, it's critical to their future, to not only just them as children, but them as adults. So it's just been great learning, great to understand a little more of the cancer journey, a little bit more of dyslexia and neurodivergence. It's just really good to understand those things. So thank you. Thank you for all you do in this place and the difference you make. We appreciate it. You
Thank
are
you. It's
making
an
a positive difference
Thank you.
everywhere.
It's an honor.